Welcome in, everyone. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all in the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to give a thumbs up, drop me a comment, show a little love, and hit that thumb and hit the bell notification to know when I go live each and every single weekday. Rashid, what's up, my brother? Crypto brother from another mother. Guys, I'm having a Perrier. I'm getting real fancy today. This is like, I feel like this shit's from France or something. Perrier lime. It's got a really deep, intense lime flavor, you know? It's real deep and light. It's a little deeper than the bubblies, you know? Anyway, I hope everyone had a good weekend. It feels like I haven't live streamed in a long time, when in reality, I did live stream on Thursday. If you guys did catch that, of course, it was very early in the morning, which is probably me adjusting to the new schedule of live streaming and why it feels like it has been so long. But yeah, last time I live streamed was Thursday at 5:15 in the morning here, Eastern Standard Time. So I haven't seen you guys since then. But let's talk about a lot of what is going on within the market right now and kind of take a step back and evaluate the markets like I would. I'll kind of allow you to see things through my eyes. And let's have a conversation about some of the fear that is currently going on within the market, okay? And let's talk about whether that fear is legitimate fear or whether it is unfounded fear. So I think that's what we need to spend some time to talk about. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but before I open up a chart here, if you are semi-active on YouTube, have you not noticed that a lot of the thumbnails for the past many weeks, I would say there are 3 predominant thumbnails on crypto YouTube, okay? There are meme thumbnails. A lot of the meme narrative has not died down. And the other thing, if you're paying any attention, is it feels and looks like one day you see a thumbnail that is extremely fearful. It wants you to click on that YouTube video because the video is suggesting that the market's just going to crash. And then 2 days later, the same channel will produce a thumbnail that states that euphoric times are ahead and the market's going to go ballistic, right? I think that those 2 thumbnails and the way they've been seesawing back and forth speaks to not the volatile market that we've been seeing, but the dull market that we've been seeing and the impatient investor who is present within crypto. If we look at this chart that I had posted out here, I think it might have been this morning, it's either yesterday or today. Literally since March, this is what we've been doing. And what I can't seem to wrap my head around is why there is so much pessimism in the market right now. The only conclusion that I can reach, and I'll show you why based on empirical data and why nothing is, the sky's not falling and we're not at the end of anything. In fact, we're at the beginning stages of what should be a ginormous rise within the entire market. The only conclusion I can reach is that because a lot of people in this space who claim to be long on the market, long, by the way, would suggest that you're establishing positions for the long run, just an FYI, and that some of these individuals who are in this space who claim to be investors, the price action hasn't gone up to the level at the rate at which a lot of people in this market have been expecting, right? So I think a lot of people have expectations in their heads in terms of how quickly the market should appreciate. Perhaps a lot of individuals in this space spend a lot of time on crypto Twitter or YouTube listening to the wrong content, watching the wrong content. And so it sort of builds up this expectation in terms of, you know, a $200,000 Bitcoin within the span of a week or two. You know, it just to to exaggerate there for a moment to illustrate my point. But when you actually sit back, or in this case I'm standing, and you evaluate the price action that's been going on for the past 3 months, and I look at this chart, what I see here is healthy consolidation. The other thing that I'm noting in the chart here is, no question, this was a correction here, right? We had a high, a low, excuse me, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, and a lower low. Now the question is, since we formulated this low back here at $56,000, $57,000, what has price been doing, guys? We got a low and a high, and a higher low, and a higher high, and a higher low, and a double top, and a higher low. So one of the most basic things that I've spoken about on my channel, there's a kind of a couple catchphrases or a couple things that I'll speak to very routinely on the channel. And the reason I do that is because there are certain key fundamental concepts that I want to ingrain in your head, because I feel that it will benefit you as an investor. One of the key things that you need to evaluate in a chart, the basic building blocks of a bullish narrative. And what are the basic building blocks of a bullish narrative? I don't even know how the hell I came up with that term. I just came up with it one day while I was live streaming. But the basic building blocks of a bullish narrative are higher highs and higher lows. Now, this is a 12-hour time frame, and we've spoken to the historical significance of a 12-hour time frame, and we could spend time on a lower time frame here, but I think given the current environment and the pessimism that I'm feeling and the impatient individual that is very predominant within this market, I don't think we should waste time on a 12-hour time frame. I don't even think we should spend time on this massive consolidation on the 2-day time frame. I think we should start going to some higher time frames and asking ourselves the question, are we bearish or are we bullish? Has something fundamentally changed within the chart versus, from a timing perspective, things just aren't explosively moving up at the exact day and the exact minute that everyone expects, right? So which really is going on here? Well, when we're looking at the weekly, the first thing I would like to point out to you beyond the massive bull pennant that is still in play here, this is our hammer candlestick we spoke about 6 weeks ago, okay? This so far has signaled our local bottom at 56,560. This will more than likely be the local bottom, and we will more than likely not go below this level. Could there be a capitulatory event in this market, a black swan event that occurs in July? Of course there could be, right? If we go back in time and we actually look at, I love my little scribbles on here from prior live streams. If we go back in time and we look at the beer virus, you can see we had consolidation in here. It looked like we might have started to turn the corner, and then we had a quick capitulatory event here and a V-shaped recovery. We came back up to this level here in a matter of several weeks. This was a golden buying opportunity. Again, you can go back to posts or tweets that I made back in that time frame, and you can see the projects that I was buying and the price levels at which I was buying them at. I was very transparent at that time on Twitter. And after this V-shaped recovery, you can see we resumed up, right? So I'm not saying there can't be some sort of a, black swan event that could occur within the market. That's the lowest probable event that we can kind of discern within the price action. But what we can do from a technical analysis perspective is evaluate the current situation for what it is, unbiasedly, objectively, and ask the question, are we bullish or are we bearish? Has something fundamentally changed? If we go to the price indicators, we can see that the stochastic RSI, although it's close to the orange line here, we're still above 20. We're still at a positive cross level. We haven't dipped below 20. The strength isn't dying down within the price movement up. We've actually been gaining a little bit of strength ever since we bottomed at 56.5, okay? The MACD, as you can see here, is trying to flatten out. Now, keep in mind, this curvature right here down is the current week. So depending how the current week plays out, you can see right now we're a darker red. As the current week pans out, that's going to dictate the movement of this MACD. But the MACD is trying to find its bearings, right? We're not evaluating the MACD here, and all of a sudden we're getting these dark red lines here on the histogram. The MACD is just plunging down. That's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of chipping and chopping in here. This MACD is very representatory of what we're seeing in price action. Chipping and chopping, going sideways. Again, I will never claim to be an expert. Maybe after another 20 years of doing this. Maybe when I'm in my 60s. Maybe late 50s. I don't know. Maybe after doing this another 15 or 20 years, I'll claim to be a subject matter expert. Maybe. For now, I'm not. So I'm not going to stand up here and profess words of wisdom from an expert. I'm not. But I've been here for enough price action specific to the crypto market to recognize chipping and chopping that takes place in the market, which has a tendency to weed people out, right? If you've been long on this market for months and months and months, I don't really know what the big deal is, to be honest with you. I really don't. The RSI, as I had indicated yesterday, when this printed yesterday, our RSI, check out the RSI. Here. Look at the relative strength index in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. You will see that it's reading at 70. So what that's saying is when we printed our weekly candlestick yesterday, Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we printed right at that level where when the RSI historically on a weekly chart for Bitcoin is at 70 or above, that's when we see the most epic price action historically within the chart. You can see we're hovering right now right around 70, okay? So there isn't anything in this chart that is concerning to me. Could we see some sort of volatility that all of a sudden comes down somewhere close to this line here? Could we come all the way down to 62 or 61 or 60? Yeah, sure, I think that's possible. Do I think that it is a possibility we could come down to 56 or go lower? Yes, that is a possibility, but it's a much lower possibility. Just to illustrate what I'm trying to say here, because some people, I don't think this really resonates with some people who aren't as mathematically inclined. I could look at this chart and give you my opinion in terms of where price could be. I could lay out a whole spreadsheet and I could lay out price ranges and associated probabilities for the next year, right? Just some rough probabilities. In that data would be a probability for Bitcoin going to 0 within the next year and Bitcoin going to 1 million within a year. Both of those extreme ends of the spectrum are extremely small probabilities. So small, probably not even worth looking at the probabilities associated with them. But somewhere in the middle are more reasonable price ranges that are more probabilistic to play out, right? So what I'm trying to share with you right now is that whether it's this month, next month, if we do have some sort of downside price action, this range is possible, this range is possible, a retest of even 68 to 66 is possible, and as we get higher, this range, this range, this range, that's the ordering of probability that I see as most likely, right? I think it's more probable we'll have a more shallow retest. Next probable we'll have a moderate retest. And even less likely that we're going to get some sort of a deeper pullback here. That is my view on how I'm seeing things at the moment. Now, if we get into... So again, the weekly, what we established, guys, on the weekly. Again, there isn't anything concerning going on. Did you follow what I said on the price data and you're following the price indicators? There isn't anything that I'm looking at and saying, oh boy, this is concerning to me. I will share one concerning thing with you. And I did make a note of it on Twitter and we will talk about it. Let's take a look at the monthly. Is something going on? We're going to go even more high time frame. Because guys, you know if you've been following my content, that what you want to do to really not miss the forest for the trees, in order to really see that entire landscape, you need to zoom out and you need to look at those higher time frames, right? Because again, if all you're doing is assessing this price action, you might as well go to a 4-hour. And then if you're on a 4-hour, you might as well go to a 30-minute. I mean, where do you draw a line in the sand? This is an extremely volatile market. This is an extremely volatile asset. It gets even worse as you move down the spectrum in terms of decreasing market cap, okay? So you got to keep perspective. You have to zoom out. And if all you're doing is spending your time listening to the most prominent people in this space who have a way of tugging on those emotional strings, I think sometimes it's just good to get away. Like, if you were to ask me, hey, CBG, how much charting did you do this weekend? I really didn't do any charting. I did very minimal charting this weekend. Why? Because I have spent so much time evaluating these charts. I know what I'm looking for. I've communicated to you what I'm looking for. And until we begin to see validation to the upside, or we start to see weakness to the downside and we begin taking out key levels, there's nothing to talk about. We're just chipping and chopping away. I'd rather enjoy life and do other things and know the key things I'm looking for than sitting here and trying to chart a 30-minute chart, trying to come up with a story and create a clever thumbnail so that you click on it. It's just not worth my time. And I have to be authentic and genuine with you guys. There's nothing going on in this market that's concerning to me. If we go to the monthly, now, I did share with you the one concerning thing, and this is on a high time frame view, guys. I did not like seeing this bearish engulfing candle, and we talked about it. Okay, we had a bearish engulfing candle in April. It's not with certainty, but it does lend itself to a higher probability that we will see continued action to the downside. So far, that has not panned out. And if we go back into the history of time, we can see other bearish engulfing candles, bullish engulfing candles. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. Here's actually a recent bearish, look at this bearish engulfing candle back in November. I mean, this candle completely eclipsed this. Great example of where we actually had already bottomed and then we continued up, right? So again, that's why if you see something bullish or bearish on a chart, especially if it's on a higher time frame, you have to make note of it. But you can't isolate things and look at them in a silo environment. We have looked at way too many views on this channel that have helped to formulate a bullish view or narrative of the market right now. And until those bullish views begin to break down, I can't get bearish, right? Topping signals. I mean, I put an entire video out talking about 6 topping signals. None of the topping signals have fired. How am I to believe? Guys, really think about this for a moment. If I spent time and energy and effort evaluating factual empirical data, and I know it's a limited data set, but ask yourself, do you want to make a decision based on your emotions, or do you want to make a decision based on hard facts? Okay, so I went to the hard facts and looked in the past and said, okay, I'm not looking at just the pi cycle. I'm not just looking at an RSI and MACD. I'm not just looking at the MVRVZ score. I'm not just looking at the Pew multiple. I'm looking at several of these things in combination. And when a certain number of these begin to fire green, history says we've topped, right? History says none of them have fired, guys. How am I supposed to believe that we're just going to roll over and come all the way back down here if literally nothing is flashing that we've topped? Think about that for a moment. I refuse to allow myself to become captive to the emotions of the market, whether it's to the downside or upside. It's the same thing. As hard as it is for you to hear from me, guys, I think that we're in that topping stage right now. I'm selling a portion of my position. As some of you will think I'm moronic for doing it, believe me, you may not think it right now, but we are going to be in a heightened state of emotion and greed. And people are not going to want to hear from me or anyone that we're topping. Bitcoin will be going to $1 million. It's not going to $1 million. XRP is going to $10 or $20. It's not going to $10 or $20. Okay? But that's what people want to hear, and the hardest thing to do is to recognize, hey man, look yourself in the mirror and check yourself, or you're going to wreck yourself. You established criteria in a non-emotional state based on empirical data. 3 of those 6, as an example, 3 of the 6 are flashing green. Probably a smart idea to start taking profits, right? Because to be successful in this market, it's not about calling a top or about calling a bottom. Everyone right now either wants to call a top or say we're going. Let's focus on that actually, because it's illustrating the point. Everyone wants to say we're topping right now. They want to be the person who says we're topping out right now. Being successful in this market is not calling a perfect top or a perfect bottom. It's recognizing we have gotten to a topping zone and selling some of your assets to actually materialize the gains, right? That is what we want to do. But on this monthly chart, beyond the bearish engulfing candle, which we've spoken about, let's look at the price indicators. The stochastic RSI is still at a very healthy level. It is at 71. Look at the MACD. You look at the MACD and you tell me if there's still momentum in this market. Of course there is. And the relative strength index, although it's hard to see it, the relative strength index is at 70. So again, not seeing anything that is concerning. Let's look at the dollar index, because typically the dollar index has an inverse relationship with the rest of the market, and I will get to your comments in a moment here. Okay, this is on a weekly. Did we print a 2-week candlestick? No, we did not. Let's zoom out and look at a monthly. Okay, so what's going on in the monthly? A MACD is just kind of, it's trying to flatten out, but it's not gaining any momentum. RSI is at a relatively neutral level. And the stochastic RSI is honestly healthy. Now, if we look at price action, which is king, again, low, high, higher low, lower high. If we go to a granular, probably should get more granular. This should be red. So we're trying to bounce here. There's clearly a bounce zone. There's too many damn lines on this chart. I'm sorry. I don't know about you guys, but if you're looking at this chart right now and it makes you want to vomit, you're not the only one. Let's make a copy. God, I have too many damn copies, just in case I want to not lose what's there. Let's try to like not make this look so clownish. There's too many fucking. It looks like a Christmas tree. It's all red and green. God damn. Oh my God. I can't stand all these lines. Oh my God. Okay. This is a little better. So if we're looking where we're bouncing right now on the DXY, on the Dixie, as they say, there's definitely a line of price confluence right there at 104. So we're chipping and chopping around here on the DXY. And in order for me to get nervous, a little nervous about the strength of the dollar and kind of reassess how it could impact the traditional stock markets as well as crypto in the short to intermediate term, we really need to start pushing above this level here at 106.5. If you see the dollar index start pushing up towards 106.5 to 107, that would be a little nerve-wracking. Okay, we're going to have to reassess what's going on, because then you're talking about coming all the way up to this level. Until that happens, I mean, the DXY could have very well topped out at this point, because we are entering a key area of, I know the 105 area we've spoken about a lot. We're right at 105 right now. It would not shock me, listen to what I'm saying, it would not shock me if the dollar index has topped out. Okay, and if it hasn't, I would be shocked if we get above 106. But we'll have to watch this. This is sort of just floundering. The best way to illustrate this chart is it's floundering around. It's kind of floundering around. The other thing I would point out on this chart, if you do pull it up on TradingView, we do have a general upsloping line here. I'll try to Draw this as best as I can. Accounting for volatility. So another thing you can do, I'm not drawing this perfect, but another thing you can do to assess relative strength in any chart is see if we're following that upsloping line like we are at the moment. And once that breaks, that relative upsloping line of support should come as resistance, right? So again, the DXY is just sort of floundering around. One more chart, and then I'll get to your comments. Let us look at Bitcoin dominance, because I know, myself included, we talk about alt season, right? And I try to be careful about what I say because I don't want to. I've seen other technical analysts come out a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and call for alt season. And I said, no, not too fast. Remember what I said. As much as I think altcoin season is literally on the horizon, could start as early as this week, could start 2 weeks from now, could start 5 weeks from now, okay? I don't know. But what I do know and what I do feel convicted about, this relative 53% area is a huge area of price confluence. When you see the Bitcoin dominance drop below 53% and consequently we break this ascending line of support here, that is when you're going to see some true strength coming into the altcoin market. But we haven't seen that yet because here's what's going on. Your altcoins are correcting harder than Bitcoin as we've seen a small pullback. Guys, look at the pullback we've had. I don't understand. I mean, it's honestly kind of comical for me. You can tell the people who haven't been here long and also the people who are attempting to take advantage of other people's emotions. We have so far fallen 3.3% on Bitcoin. Yay! Wow, we're crashing. Whoa! I mean, we fell 3%, right? But your altcoins corrected more, right? Ultimately, we saw this thing capitulate as low as 4.9%. Wow, what a deep correction. Okay, so, and your altcoins have corrected harder as a result. I would like to also keep perspective here that this 73,800, we are currently, I mean, just to keep perspective, we are roughly 6% away from prior all-time highs. 6% away. When the market moves, you will see 10% plus daily Bitcoin moves. Okay? So, again, just trying to keep things 100 here. We're 6% away from all-time highs. The high time frame views are still intact. So what is the concern? Why is everyone so afraid? I'll look at a couple other charts, but let me get to your comments here. I don't understand all the fear in the market right now. And I think the fear is also driven by and partially related to impatience. Impatience in the market. Let's see who we got. Matthew. Yeah, and another point, Matthew, and it's a very good one. I have a very small channel. You guys see this. You can see how many people are watching. And right now, I mean, 10 people viewing, 11 people viewing. I mean, what you will notice is when the market picks up, and I'll go to my YouTube studio and I'll see how many views I got, my views will double. Like when there's actual excitement in this market, I mean, my live stream will get 200 views instead of, 120 views, So I can just tell based on the number of people in the live stream and the amount of engagement I have right now, it's not a ghost town. It's definitely not a ghost town, but people are very disinterested and not excited. And it can be a good indicator. I think Benjamin Cohan, into the cryptoverse, who I sometimes joke about, I think he actually has some analytics that point to prominent YouTube influencer views, and you can see it's pretty low right now. Let's fucking go, Rory. Welcome in, Track. Where the hell's Oof at? Yeah, it could be a chippy choppy day. I know there's a lot of data coming out from the Fed, and keep in mind, everything's all in the charts, but those human emotions that are feeding off of that factual data coming out, again, those data-driven analyses, even though some of those numbers might be cooked, still, all that stuff is sort of baked into what we're seeing here. So, yeah, you could see some chip and chop this week for sure with numbers coming out this week. Let's fucking go, Josh. As the late Kerry used to say, as I shared the story with you, how I came up with my late best friend down here. He used to always say on Mondays, best day of the week. It was like 4:30 in the morning when I used to go in the gym. Best day of the week, CBG. And he used to have a smile on his face. That's where I came up with Carry It Forward. I shared that story with you guys if you were there for that. Yeah. No, and it is important on days like this for you guys to remember, and it actually, you might have raised a really good point there, Track. Really quick, before we get into a chart or two that I wanted to hit on, don't forget that this conversation, this should feel like deja vu. Is anyone here a fan of Groundhog Day? Not the actual date, but the movie. It's actually one of my all-time favorite movies. For me, it's like a classic all-time favorite, where Bill Murray, the character, wakes up every day and he's reliving the same day every day. I always thought that would be pretty cool to do for a time period. But and the life insurance salesman, and there's just so many fun. I might actually watch that movie this week now that I'm bringing it up. But anyway, it's an awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, Groundhog Day. Classic. But anyway, doesn't it feel like we've had this conversation before? I'm talking about chipping and chopping around, people being impatient, consolidation. Does this not sound familiar to you guys? Can we just go back in time for a moment? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you tell me if I'm full of shit, okay? I believe that this price action, we were saying the same thing. This was right before I had surgery too. And I was so pissed off because this run here, I completely missed out on this because of my thyroid surgery. But what I was sharing with you guys back here, okay, was the market was becoming extremely impatient. This was healthy consolidation. All of your prominent influencers on YouTube and on Twitter were spelling the same narrative. We were going to go sideways for 6 months going into the halving. We were going to stay under like $28,000, $32,000, and then we were going to see an expansion in price. Keep in mind, we did something this year we've never done in history, which should tell you something is different about this cycle than prior cycles. We hit a new all-time high prior to the halving, which I did speak to and said was a possibility. So during this time, I was coming out here and saying it's chippy choppy, it's boring, stay in the game. If you've been long, you're going to be rewarded. Remain patient, okay? And look where we're at right now. Now, we had a monumental surge in price up from 25, 26,000 all the way up to 75, so we tripled in price. But we're starting to see some of the same right now. This just, to me, is very reminiscent of what we saw back here, okay? These two time periods. Now, keep in mind, we consolidated here from March until September, guys. There's no reason, look, it's quite obvious at this point that my main view in terms from a timing perspective is incorrect. There's no question. Bitcoin is not going to top this month. Bitcoin is not going to top in July. It's not happening, right? So it's very possible we could chip and chop in here until August, maybe September. I don't know. We'll have to allow the market to tell us the story. But the most important thing is you don't get weeded out. Again, if there isn't anything that has changed within your high time frame views that established your bullish view, why would your view of the market change? The only thing, remember, keep in mind, if the views I've shared with you make sense, the weekly, the monthly, what's going on with the DXY, Bitcoin dominance, if the views are making sense to you, if what I'm sharing with you makes sense, and that's how you've formulated your bullish narrative and view on the market. Well, if nothing in those charts has changed, why are you feeling fearful or frustrated? Well, it's got to be a human emotion associated with just impatience, right? Perhaps greed. You want to profit today. You thought things were going to go up today. You want your altcoins to go up 5, 10x. You have to be patient. You have to allow the market to tell you the story and then infer what you can from it from there, right? Don't want to get greedy. Don't want to become impatient. By the way, pulled up these two charts real quick before I touch on a couple other items. I told you that I was getting a sum of capital shortly, and I was trying to find out what I wanted to stick that capital in. I decided to take 2 trades. One is injective because to me it just looks like this thing is ready to bust a nut above 30, and the other is Orca. So these are the two, because I think we're in a massive, it just looks like a massive bull pennant to me, but Orca and injective were the two tokens I decided to go with. Now, let us take a look at Ethereum. Is there any, and again, I don't want to have to keep repeating myself. Again, we need Ethereum to do well. History tells us so. So if you've been here, you know why that is. Mazda Dashcam, good to see you. So far, what have we done? Oh, okay, well, this is interesting. Again, I haven't evaluated this chart since I last looked at it with you guys. Hand on the Bible, right hand to God, all right? I haven't looked at it since I've spoken with you guys. Not only is this consolidation, and we can flip all these green now, do you see anything in the chart that just stuck out to you? I see something. Do you see something? Oh, I don't know. I happen to see a pole. This is your pole, and this is your pennant. I see a bull flag, okay? I don't know what the measured move is. We're not going to look at it. But this is a huge pole, and classic, what happens with these bull pennants, you see the volume top off at the top of the pole, and then in the pennant, you see the decreasing volume as price begins to consolidate. Guys, we have a bull pennant on Ethereum for all those who are bearish on it. Maybe we can get an even better view if we're on a 5-day. Yeah, so again, just to illustrate this for you, you have your pole, and then you have your pennant. Very simple. And the pennant could be shaped a couple different ways. We'll have to see how it pans out. It could go something like this. It could go something like, like that. We'll just have to see. But that's what I'm seeing on the chart. Now, if we get to the price indicators here, and I know I'm going a little over, but I feel like there's a lot to talk about. You can see the MACD's gaining momentum. RSI looks good. There's just nothing. Again, it's not like we shot up here and then just quickly retraced, right? And again, I know, that's a subject for another day, actually. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We'll save that for another conversation. Maybe one more chart we'll take a look at. Let's ask how the entire space is doing. Now, obviously, as we take a look at the total cryptocurrency market cap to assess relative strength, or if anything, again, what we're trying to do is, as detectives, we're trying to determine, is the fear or impatience in the market, let's forget about impatience, is the fear that you're seeing around the market founded or unfounded? That's what I'm trying to spell out to you in today's live stream. Well, the total chart should tell us if it's founded or unfounded. There should be some breakdown, right? If I was coming out here and I was like, guys, I know I've had these views, but I have to keep things real with you always, and I'm not Nostradamus, right? Things have developed in the charts, and based on what's developing in the charts, I'm getting bearish on price action. Things are just not working out the way that I believed they would based on the data that I was presented at the time that I did the analysis for you and with you, right? Somebody's going to cut that and then stick that on Twitter, and that's going to be it, right? Cut that tidbit. Cut that audio. But But if I were to instead look at the price data and say, okay, well, it seems like we're simply consolidating right at all-time highs and nothing structurally has changed in the chart. It's just taking a little longer than I would have thought, a little bit. It's not like it's way off from what I thought, a little bit longer. And the market's just getting impatient. And the savvy influencers are taking advantage of your inexperience in this market and your human emotions, and they're putting crafty thumbnails together, and they're getting you to click on their content because they can sense the fear and impatience in the market. That is what's going on, in my opinion. There is nothing wrong with this chart. Guys, nothing has changed since Thursday. What did we talk about on Thursday? We also talked about the possibility of a cup and handle, right? We have a nice rounding bottom here. We came all the way up to all-time highs. And again, I literally think you are a complete fucktard if you think this market has triple topped. I think you're tripping. Like, if you're being serious, like if it's not that you're being disingenuous and you're just going for clickbaits and farming engagement, if you literally think the market is triple topping right now, I literally think whatever magic drug you're on, you need to keep it away from other people because it's not doing you a lot of good. All right? This is literally coming up to the top here and consolidating right here. Again, could we completely roll over? Of course we could. There's a probability for it, but there's a much higher probability based on this chart and other views, countless views we've taken a look at, that we're going to bust a nut through it in the coming weeks, months, whatever. There's just nothing breaking down here. Last one I want to look at. Very last chart I'll look at with you guys. This was let me see if I can find it. This was sort of a unique view that I came up with. I don't know. I can't find it. So let's look at something else. Let's look at one more view. Let's look at Heiken Ashi. So this is something I haven't looked at ahead of this live stream. I don't know what the hell it's going to tell us. Typically, and it's kind of illustrated in this in this nice color shading here, but as a refresher, this will be the last chart I believe we'll look at. And thank you for the engagement today. I see the engagement's up, and I really do appreciate it. Now, I've spoken to these candlesticks in times past, right? As a refresher for everyone, the reason that you want to look at a Heiken Ashi candlestick over a regular candlestick, right? If you come up here and just click on candles, you can look at things on a regular candlestick. Why would we want to click up here and click on Heiken Ashi? I was going to make a joke, but it's probably inappropriate, so I won't. But why would we want to look at Heiken Ashi? The reason we would want to look at Heiken Ashi is because what the Heiken Ashi candlesticks tell us is momentum, trend direction, right? Very easy. Green means go, red means stop, okay? So green is bullish, red is bearish. Typically, when these candlesticks form green, it means there's continued momentum to the upside. When they begin to turn red, it could spell some corrective nature to the structure, and we could see some downwards reaction in price, okay? Now, obviously, you're going to see a higher degree of volatility on a daily. Look at all the green and red changing, right? But as we begin to condense price action and consolidate the candlesticks and look at things on a higher time frame, just like on any other view, what happens is the volatility becomes compressed, and we get a more accurate portrayal of what we're trying to assess, right? And that becomes more valid the more price data we have. In this case, this is the most price action we're going to see in the entire crypto market, as Bitcoin has approximately 12 years of price data. So if we look at a weekly, we can see we flipped green back here in May, and we're still green, which signals to us we will most likely see some continued price action to the upside. If we flip to a 2-week, we're green. If we flip to a 3-week, we've been green. Nothing has changed. Let's do, this is going a little bit longer. We're still green. Oh, I've been talking too much. I need some of my Perrier. Guys, seriously, lime, shit has a deep, intense flavor. Need to get some sponsors for this channel. If we go to the monthly, we're green. We haven't changed red. If we go to the 2 month, I wonder if we go to a 2 month, we're still green. So the whole point of me showing you these charts is when we begin to look at a high time frame and we assess momentum, the Heikin Ashi candlesticks are telling us, I like looking at a 10-day too. Yeah. The Heikin Ashi candlesticks are telling us that we still have further up to go. Now, if some of these time frames, if I began to go to a weekly or I began to go to a 2-week, and some of these began to flash red, like here, this was a little bit of a fake out, right? Fake out. It would be a warning sign, right? You can see in the past, some of these, we get little flashes of red here and it doesn't amount to anything. But sometimes it is a clear sign of a trend reversal to the downside. So again, it's just another indicator we can use that when it begins to change color, it's either a warning sign, a potential warning sign, or a potential sign if it changes green of momentum to the upside. And this is why, as one of the other things I really want you to gain from this channel, the more and more you tune in, I really want you to walk away and say, oh, wow, there are a multitude of things we can look at to gain insights into the market to make a well-informed view. There is no one chart. There is no one indicator. But the way that you should assess the market, you should know what to look for, and you should understand the idea of confluence. If you know what to look for, and the majority of what you're looking at is bullish, no matter what the human emotion is. Remember, I quite often talking about steering right when everyone is going left. I love being a contrarian, okay? No matter what the human emotion is, if you know what to look for and the majority of everything is flashing bullish, you should be bullish. If everyone is greedy and telling you that things will never correct again, and the majority of what you know to look at and you're evaluating is beginning to flip to the downside and beginning to signal momentum has run out and we may turn bearish, probably good to take the contrarian view, right? I am here to tell you, based on all of the views that I shared with you, that right now, outside of the one thing I said I would mention to you, I am not concerned. I'm not concerned. The one thing that does have me concerned, more and more and more, I am seeing news narratives with headlines of how $100,000 Bitcoin is a sure thing. That makes me feel nervous that $100,000 is not coming. I know that I've said this before. It's been a while since I've said it, but I've said this before. There is a possibility, absolutely, and you have to consider this, that this market either underwhelms or overwhelms. It could be somewhere in the middle, but it makes me nervous. Again, it has to do with being a contrarian. It makes me nervous when I see these headlines about $100,000 like it's such a sure thing. And again, keep in mind, $100,000 is a psychological level. The premise of this live stream is it is all in the charts. And one of the factors that is in a chart is human emotion, human responses, bot activity, algorithms, but how people choose to buy and sell, it's all baked into this chart. So if everyone is expecting $100,000, that does leave me feeling a little nervous. I don't know how things are going to play out. I have my empirical data topping points. You know what they are. That's how I'm playing the market. Do I think that Bitcoin's going to eventually get over $100,000? Absolutely. But it does make me feel nervous about, it's the one thing that makes me nervous about it happening this year. There's always a possibility, and we kind of touched on this before, and it has to do with some evolving views I have on liquidity cycles and looking at Raoul Paul's narrative, and I know TechDev does a lot of work specific to this. There's certainly a possibility we could have a top this year that truly is not a blow-off top. maybe we hit a high of $93,000, and then next year we see our true blow off top, just when people think that we're going to underwhelm, that Bitcoin, has its true blow off top with momentum coming into the market next year, and we top out at 130 or 140,000 or something like that. But again, I'm relying solely on these indicators to tell me when I should begin selling a portion of my position. And after I begin selling a portion of my position, and however you decide to do it, that is when we can reevaluate the market if it makes sense to get back in, or if we need to kind of stay on the sidelines for a bit. But we're not quite there yet. But again, guys, I'm not seeing anything in the market that's concerning me. I hope this live stream helped you. We're seeing chopping around, and we're seeing some I wouldn't even call it volatility. I would just call it sideways, boring price action. Very reminiscent of what we saw mid 2023. Don't get weeded out, guys. Do not get weeded out. I will be back tomorrow for TA Q&A. I hope everyone enjoyed the live stream. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much for the engagement today. And until next time, let's all spread awareness. Let's carry that education forward tomorrow. Let's carry that education forward. I will see you mañana. I still know a little bit of Spanish. Mañana, tomorrow. All right? Take it easy, guys.